Welcome to Lakshman Biology. I am explaining Biology 2nd PUC Model Question Paper 2 Part 2 video. Already I have uploaded Part 1 video. If you did not see that video, first see the video, then after that come and watch this video. This is the Part 2 of Biology 2nd PUC Model Question Paper explanation. I have explained up to question number 19. Next question number 20. Question number 20. Write the characteristic features of insect pollinated flowers. Here what they have asked? They have asked that what are the characters of flowers which are pollinated by insects. First, pollination means transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called pollination. That pollination or transfer of pollen grains occurs by animals, air, water, insects, like that. And here they have asked that what are the characters of flowers which are pollinated by the insects. Okay, first point. Insect pollinated flowers are usually called entomophilous flowers. The flowers which are pollinated by the insects is called entomophilous flowers. Then insect pollinated flowers are large, colorful, fragrant. Those are large in size, colorful to attract the insects. They has good smell and rich in nectar. That nectar provide to insects as a food, which has sweet in taste. Next, when the flowers are small, they form inflorescence to make them visible. Sometimes insect pollinated flowers also has a small size. When they have small size, all small flowers combine together and form one large structure to visible to the insects. Then that is called inflorescence. Arrangements of flower is called inflorescence. In that inflorescence we can see the group of flowers. Next, the flowers pollinated by flies and beetles secrete full odors to attract these animals. Flies and beetles are one type of insects. The flowers which are pollinated by these flies and beetles, they will produce the foul smell. Odors means smell to attract the insects. Next, the pollen grains are generally sticky. Sticky means they are easily attached on the insect surface. Nectar and pollen grains are floral rewards to sustain the animal visits. The flowers, entomophilous flowers, provide nectar and pollen grains to the insects. Then insects will take that. Then after that insects are used for pollination of that entomophilous flowers. That is the answer for question number 20. Question number 21. What is paturation? Briefly explain the process of paturation. First, paturation meaning delivery of a baby. Delivery of baby is called paturation. First point, the process of delivery of fetus or childbirth is called paturation. Second point, paturation is induced by neuroendocrine mechanism. Neuroendocrine mechanism means neurons, nervous system. Endocrine means hormones. Both are helped for the paturation. Next, the signals originating from the fetus and placenta induce mild uterine contractions is called fetal ejection reflex. Fetal ejection reflex means if you see the after 9 months growth of baby, the fully developed fetus and placenta, they put pressure on the wall of uterus. When they put pressure on the wall of uterus, the uterus will be show mild uterine contraction. That is called fetal ejection reflex. Meaning the signals, if you see the fetal ejection reflex, the signals originating from the fetus. Which fetus? This fetus, fully developed fetus, and the placenta. that induce mild uterine contraction because of the pressure which is developed by the fetus and placenta. The uterus will show the mild uterine contraction, small contractions. Then that mild uterine contractions stimulate the pituitary gland of mother, maternal pituitary, to release oxytocin. These mild uterine contractions stimulate the pituitary gland of mother, then mother pituitary gland release oxytocin hormone. This oxytocin hormone again act on the smooth muscles of uterus, then the uterus will show strong uterine contractions because of oxytocin. These strong uterine contractions are responsible for the delivery of a baby. That is called fetal ejection reflex, and the stimulation of fetal ejection reflex to release of oxytocin and parturition. Then question number 22. How can contraception be prevented without the use of contraceptives? Meaning for it is sorry, not contraception, conception. How can conception be prevented without the use of contraceptives? Conception means to become an pregnant. How can to become an pregnant is prevented without using any contraceptives, without using any chemicals, tablets, injection? How couples can prevent pregnancy? That is the answer. That is the question. Answer for it: by natural or traditional methods. In natural or traditional methods, couples will not use any type of contraceptives. They will avoid chances of ovum and sperm meeting naturally. These natural or traditional methods are mainly divided into three types. There are periodic abstinence. Periodic abstinence means during menstrual cycle. Actually menstrual cycle is 28 to 29 days, which occurs 28 to 29 days. Duration of menstrual cycle is 28 to 29 days. In this 28 to 29 days, there is a chances of release of ovum at 14th day. Hence, if couples avoid the intercourse from 10th to 17th day of menstrual cycle, then in that time ovum release, and that released ovum degenerate. Hence, if the couple avoid the intercourse or coitus means intercourse, from 10 to 17th day of menstrual cycle to prevent conception or pregnancy, that is called periodic abstinence. This 10 to 17th day of menstrual cycle is called fertile period. Hence, during that period only there is a chances of release of ovum. Next, coitus interruptus or withdrawal. Coitus interruptus or withdrawal means withdraw penis from the vagina just before ejaculation to avoid the insemination. Actually, penis is used for the insemination to release male gametes into female genital tract. Then here what happened, during coitus male partner remove the penis before release of semen, before ejaculation, is called coitus interruptus or withdrawal. Next, lactational amenorrhea. After the delivery of baby, approximately 6 months there is no menstrual cycle, there is no release of ovum because of prolactin that is used for production of milk. Hence, if the couples involved in intercourse or coitus in this 6 months duration, that will not lead to pregnancy. See here, lactational amenorrhea, it is the prevention of conception by breastfeeding the child, because ovulation and the cycle do not occur during this fertile period of lactation. This is effective up to 6 months following parturition. After the delivery of baby or after the parturition, up to 6 months, because of prolactin there is no ovulation, there is no menstrual cycle. Hence, the intercourse during this duration which not leads to the pregnancy. That is the answer for question number 22. Next, question number 23. DNA polymorphism is a very useful identification tool in forensic application. Mention the steps involved in identification of polymorphism using DNA fingerprinting technique. Meaning for it is, Variation in first DNA polymorphism. DNA polymorphism means variation in DNA which occurs due to mutations is called DNA polymorphism. The DNA polymorphism is used in DNA fingerprinting. DNA fingerprinting means identification of individual based on the DNA sequence. Then how DNA polymorphism is used for DNA fingerprinting, and then what are the steps which are involved in DNA fingerprinting, that we have to write. The main steps which are involved in DNA fingerprinting are: number one, isolate DNA. See, first of all, for identification of individual, we have to isolate DNA from the cells. Example, one man is killed by the killer, then killer lost his hair or his small tissue on the killing site. In that condition, the cells of killer should be collected, then the DNA we have to separate from that cells. That is called isolation of DNA. We can isolate the DNA from any cells like blood stain, semen stain, hair roots, etc. Then digest DNA by restriction endonucleases. After that, we have to cut this DNA into different pieces by using the restriction endonucleases. Restriction endonucleases are enzymes that can cut the DNA at particular sites. Then after second step, we can get lot of fragments of DNA. Then third step is separate DNA fragments by gel electrophoresis. These small DNA fragments which are formed because of restriction endonucleases, we have to separate based on its length by using the agarose gel plate. In this agarose gel plate, we have to add the DNA fragments on the well. Then we have to connect it to the anode. One side we have to connect to the anode or positive charge. Then what happened, the DNA fragments which you have added on chambers or wells has negative charge, then they are trying to move towards the positive charge on the gel plate. Large DNA fragments will move short distance, small DNA fragments will move large distance. Then based on this we can separate the DNA fragments. That is the third step. Next, fourth step is transfer or blotting single stranded DNA fragments to synthetic membrane such as nitrocellulose or nylon plate. After that, these fragments we have to transfer from the agarose gel plate to the nylon plate or nitrocellulose plate. Then hybridization using labeled VNTS probes. We have to hybridize the DNA fragments by using the VNTR probes. Then next step is the hybridized DNA is photographed on the X-ray film by autoradiograph. This hybridized part has radioactive substances. Then by using autoradiography we can identify that hybridized part. Then the image or DNA fingerprint we have to prepare. The image or DNA fingerprint which we have prepared, then we have to compare with the another DNA fingerprint that we have collected. Then if both are same, then that indicates the thief and the sample which we are collected both are same. That is the question number 23. Next, question number 24. With reference to malaria, answer the following. Name of the pathogen. Answer for it is malaria pathogen is Plasmodium vivax or Plasmodium malaria or Plasmodium falciparum. Name of vector. Vector means which is used for transfer of malaria pathogen from one person to another person. Answer for it is female Anopheles mosquito. Next, symptoms of malaria. Chill and high fever recurring every 3 to 4 days. That is the symptoms of malaria. Next, question number 25. List out any three types of innate barriers of defense with an example for each. Meaning for 25th question is innate immunity means the immunity which is developed by birth is called innate immunity, which mainly act by different types of barriers. That main barriers are 4 types, that are physical barriers, physiological barriers, cellular barriers, cytokinin barriers. All these barriers developed by birth, hence those are under innate immunity. First, if you see the physical barriers, example for that is skin, which prevent entry of foreign bodies into the body. Mucus, that coating the respiratory, gastrointestinal and urinogenital tracts to trap the microbes. Next, physiological barriers, which include gastric hydrochloric acid, means which present in stomach, that kill the microorganisms. Saliva and tear, if you see saliva and tear which contain the enzyme lysozyme, and it will kill the bacteria. Next, cellular barriers. Cellular barriers include phagocytes like WBC, white blood cells. Example, neutrophils, polymorphonuclear leukocytes, monocytes and natural killer cells, natural killer lymphocytes, macrophages, etc. These all act as phagocytic cells to kill microorganisms. Next, cytokine barriers. If you see cytokinin barrier, meaning virus infected cells secrete proteins called interferons, which protect non-infected cells from further viral infection. Meaning for cytokinin barriers is, see, these are the human tissue cells. This middle cell is affected by the virus. The virus infected cell will produce some type of proteins, those are called interferons. These are interferons. These interferons will go and protect the surrounding cells from viral infection. Then that is called as cytokinin barriers or interferon function. That is the answer for question number 25. Next question number 26. Draw a neat label diagram of simple stirred bioreactor. Simple stirred tank bioreactor. Here we have to write at least 6 labels. If you see that bioreactor, simple stirred bioreactor means here we can get product of recombinant DNA, product of rDNA. We have to use the raw material in this bioreactor. It is simply one tank that can produce product of rDNA. The raw material we have to keep in this tank, and we have to provide suitable environment for the development of recombinant DNA. Then we can get that product. It may be insulin or it may be any product. If you see the structure of bioreactor, it is a cylinder. Then at top we can see one motor. That motor will rotate the fan, which fan like structures which present under the bioreactor, inside the bioreactor. See, if you see the fans, that each fan or each part of this plates will do different function. Example, if you see the top plate, which is foam breaker, continuous rotation of motor will rotate the fans which are present under the culture broth or under the bioreactor. This rotation will produce the air bubbles. That air bubbles will go at the top, then they become into an foam. That foam is breaked by the top fan. Then flat bladed impeller, means that is fans only, blades which will rotate. Then inside the bioreactor we can see the culture broth that contain recombinant DNA that will form the product when we maintain suitable environment. Then there is a inlet pipe, there we can add acid or base for pH control. Particular pH is required for the development of product by rDNA technology. Hence the pH maintenance also very important. If it is too acidic, we have to add base. If it is too basic, we have to add acidic substance. Then steam sterilization, inlet tank also there, inlet pipe also there. That is the structure of simple stirred bioreactor. It is very important diagram. Next, part D, 5 marks questions. Question number 27. Draw neat label diagram of mature embryo sac of angiosperms. This is the embryo sac. We have to draw the diagram of this embryo sac. If you see the embryo sac, which contain two synergids. This is one synergid cell and it is another synergid cell. There is a special cellular thickenings present at bottom of synergids, that is called filiform apparatus, which guide the entry of pollen tube into the embryo sac. That is about synergids. Then apart from synergids, we can see the egg also. This is the egg cell. That is the egg, which contain haploid nucleus also. The two synergids plus egg combinedly form egg apparatus. Egg apparatus. Then middle you can see the central cell, which contain two nuclei. Then at another end we can see the three antipodal cells. That is the structure of embryo sac. You should draw the neat label diagram of structure of embryo sac, at least with 8 labels. Diagram 1 mark and the labels 4 marks. Each labeling half mark. Next, question number 28. Explain Mendel's experiment of inheritance of one gene with reference to height in pea plant. Inheritance of one gene means here we have to write monohybrid cross. Monohybrid cross. Here they asked explain Mendel's experiment of inheritance of monohybrid cross, means you have to write explanation for monohybrid cross. Then apart from that you have to draw the diagram also for monohybrid cross. Then if you see the diagram and explanation, in monohybrid cross we should cross between two pure lines which are differ in single character. That single character is the height of plant. We have to cross homozygous dominant plant with a homozygous recessive plant. Then a homozygous dominant plant will produce all dominant allele containing gametes. Next, recessive parent, homozygous recessive parent will produce all recessive allele containing gametes. Then in F1 generation we can see the formation of heterozygous plants. These heterozygous plants contain one dominant allele and one recessive allele, but we can see only one character, that is dominant character. Means when you cross tall and dwarf plants, F1 generation all plants produce tall plants only. Then if you cross the F1 generation plants, there is a formation of 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf plant. In these 3 tall plants, one tall plant has homozygous dominant condition and 2 tall plants has a heterozygous dominant condition. Then another one is a homozygous recessive parent. Then if you see the phenotypic ratio of F2 generation of monohybrid cross, that is 3:1. 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf plant, that is phenotypic ratio, appearance ratio. Phenotypic means the appearance, it may be color, size, shape, etc. Next, genotypic ratio is 1:2:1, means one homozygous dominant genotype, 2 heterozygous dominant genotype, then one homozygous recessive genotype we can see. That is about the cross between two purulents which contain which differ in single gene or monohybrid cross. Next, question number 29. Draw a neat label diagram of sectional view of mammary gland. At least 10 labels you have to draw. If you see the mammary gland which present in the females that produce the milk. The mammary glands mainly made with fat and glandular tissue. The glandular tissue of mammary gland form the mammary lobe. Once again, mammary gland mainly contain fat and glandular tissue. That glandular tissue will form the mammary lobes. If you see, this is one mammary lobe, this is one mammary lobe, this is one mammary lobe, this is one mammary lobe. Inside the mammary lobe we can see the mammary alveolus. The cells which are present in mammary alveolus produce the milk. Then that milk stored in the cavities of alveolus. From mammary alveolus to the milk is entered into an mammary duct. Then from mammary ducts are combined together and form the mammary ampulla or ampulla. Milk enter from mammary duct to mammary ampulla. Then ampullas again open into an lactiferous duct. Milk also open from ampulla to lactiferous duct. Then from lactiferous duct to milk ejected outside through the nipple. That is about the structure of mammary glands. It contains 5 marks. you should label 10 labels, each label half mark. Next question number 30. List the salient features of human genome. Here you should write 10 points approximately, because it is the 5 marks question. Salient features of human genome. Human genome contains 3164.7 million nucleotide bases. Total number of genes about 30,000. First, if you see what is Human Genome Project. Human Genome Project is mega project in which the different countries identified the sequence of human genome. Then if you see the third point, average gene consists of 3000 bases, but size is different. The largest known human genome is dystrophin, which present on X chromosome, which contain 2.4 million bases. Next, 99.9% nucleotide bases are identical in all peoples. If you compare the two different human beings, 99.9% nucleotide bases are same only. There is a variation only in 0.1%. That will make unique people. Then functions of over 50% of discovered genes are unknown. We don't know 50% gene functions. Chromosome number 1 has most genes, approximately 2968, and Y has fewer genes. Hence the biggest chromosome is Y and smallest chromosome is biggest chromosome is 1, chromosome number 1, smallest chromosome is chromosome Y. Less than 2% of genome codes for a protein. Next, repeated sequences make up very large portion of human genome. If you see the human genome, few nucleotides, it may be ATG, it may be repeated so many times, like example ATGC like that. Then repetitive sequences are stretches of DNA sequences that are repeated many times. They have no direct coding functions, but they shed light on chromosome structure, dynamics and evolution. Next, about 1.4 million locations where single base DNA differences. There are 1.4 million locations, they has only variation in single base. Those are called SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphism, or SNIPs, which are occurs in humans. That are salient features of Human Genome Project. Next, question number 31. Explain the regulation of lac operon in the absence and in presence of lactose in the medium. Here we have to write first about lac operon. First point is Jacob and Monod proposed a model of gene regulation known as operon model. The operon controlling lactose metabolism, it consists of regulatory genes, 3 structural genes, etc. That I will explain by the diagram. First you have to write what are the regulation of gene expression means actually gene function is production of protein. Then when organisms don't want protein or enzyme, that time gene expression will be stopped, protein synthesis will be stopped. That is called regulation. When a gene or enzyme is required, then protein synthesis will be occur. That is called regulation of gene expression. When protein required, gene expression will be occurs, then protein form. When protein or enzyme not required, the gene expression will be stopped. Example for that is lac operon, which is proposed by Jacob and Monod. First we will see the structure of lac operon. Lac operon contain I gene. That I gene can produce the repressor protein by repressor RNA. This repressor protein can bind with the operator site of lac operon. That is the I gene, which can this is inhibitory gene. I gene will produce the functional production of repressor. Then before I gene you can see P, that is promoter for I gene. Next we can see the O gene. Here you can see O gene. O gene is called operator gene. it can interact with the repressor protein. Repressor protein can bind at O gene. Then three structural genes are present in lac operon, that are Z gene, Y gene and A gene. Z gene can produce the beta galactosidase enzyme. Y gene can produce the permease enzyme. Next, A gene can produce the transacetyl enzyme. All these enzymes are responsible for the breakdown of lactose inducer. Here inducer means lactose. That yellow color one is lactose. That yellow color one is lactose. Okay. Next we have to see what happened in the presence of lactose, what happened in the absence of lactose. In the absence of inducer means that is switch off mode. In the presence of inducer means that is switch on mode. Inducer means here lactose. What happened when a inducer is not there, means without inducer, that is switch off mechanism, without inducer. If lactose is not present, then there is no use of enzymes that are beta galactosidase, permease and transacetylase. Hence enzyme synthesis stopped when there is no inducer or there is no lactose. How enzyme synthesis will be stopped? The I gene will express always in switch off and in switch on, both modes. This I gene will form the repressor protein. The repressor protein goes and bind with the operator site. When operator site is blocked, the ZYA structural genes cannot produce the beta galactosidase, permease and transacetylase, because the RNA polymerase will bind at P that cannot move on the ZYA genes. Then in presence of inducer, what happened in presence of inducer? Or inducer means here lactose. In presence of lactose, when lactose is there in medium which require the three enzymes for the digestion, in such condition how switch on mechanism occurs in presence of inducer. Here also I gene will produce the repressor protein. Because of presence of lactose inducer means lactose only, the repressor protein will not bind on the operator site, it will goes and bind with the inducer. Hence operator site is open only. When operator site is open, ZYA genes are transcribed into beta galactosidase, permease and transacetylase. These three enzymes again used for the digestion of lactose. That is about in absence of inducer and in presence of inducer. If they ask this type of questions, what you have to write? First you should write the genes which are present in the lac operon. Second, you should write in absence of lactose what happened. Next you should write in presence of lactose what happened. Next, question number 32. Question number 32 again divided into two parts. First part is, what are the methods to introduce alien DNA into the host cell? Here in recombinant DNA technology, the foreign DNA or rDNA should be entered into the host cell, should be sent into the host cell. Host cell plasma membrane is hydrophobic, hence host cell will not receive the recombinant DNA normally. We have to use different methods to take the host cell to the recombinant DNA. First one is heat shock treatment, second one is micro injection, third one is biolistics or gene gun. In heat shock treatment, bacterial cells are treated with a specific concentration of divalent cation, example calcium, and incubated with recombinant DNA on ice. Then they are placed briefly at 42 degrees Celsius heat shock and put them into the ice. Once they will keep that host cells which has to take rDNA into the high temperature, then transfer into the ice again into high temperature. Then like that treatment is called heat shock treatment. That will help to bacteria to take rDNA into them. Next, micro injection. rDNA is directly injected into the nucleus of animal cell is called micro injection. This is animal cell. If you want to introduce rDNA into this nucleus, then directly by using micro injection we can inject. That is called micro injection. Next, biolistics or gene gun. In this method, cells are bombarded. The cells which have to take rDNA mixed with high velocity microparticles like gold and tungsten. That gold and tungsten are coated with DNA. These high velocity molecules can send that DNA into the host cell. That is 3 different methods which are used for introduction of alien DNA into the host cell. Next, second part, write any 3 tools used in recombinant DNA technology. In recombinant DNA technology, we can use different types of tools. That are, number 1 is restriction enzymes, which are used to cut the DNA molecules at specific sites. Polymerase enzymes, which are used for the polymerization of nucleic acids, like DNA polymerase will form new DNA, RNA polymerase will form new RNA. Ligases are used for attachment of DNA fragments. Then cloning vectors. Cloning vectors are used for transfer of the desired gene into the host. Next, complement host. It is used for the production of the product. These are the different tools which are involved in the recombinant DNA technology. Next, question number 33, which also divided in 2 parts. First one is, where are the opioid receptors located in human body? Opioids are one type of drugs. The receptors means their opioids goes and attach. The opioid receptors are present on central nervous system and gastrointestinal tract. Central nervous system means brain and spinal cord. Gastrointestinal tract means digestive tract. Next, second one in question number 33, mention the techniques involved in the cancer detection and diagnosis. How, meaning for it is how cancer is identified and how cancer is treated. Diagnosis, identified. See, first one, biopsy and histopathological studies. In biopsy, the living tissue from tumor we have to collect and we have to test for it. Is it cancer tissue or normal tissue? Histopathological studies means the studies which are related to tissue. Radiography, example X-rays. By using radiation we can detect the cancer or diagnose the cancer. CT scan. CT scan means computed tomography. MRI, magnetic resonance image. By using CT scan and MRI scan we can detect the cancer. Then by using antibodies against the cancer specific antigens. If antibodies against antigens for cancer present in the human body, that also indicate the presence of cancer. Techniques of molecular biology to detect genes related cancer. That are the different detection and diagnosis techniques for the cancer. Question number 34, explain briefly the use of transgenic animals. Transgenic animals are animals in which the genetic material is manipulated by introduction of new genes. These transgenic animals are used for different functions. That are, number 1 is to study normal physiology and development. Transgenic animals are used to study how genes are regulated and how they affect the normal body functions and its development. Example, study of complex factors such as insulin like growth factors. Then apart from that, the transgenic animals are used for to study the contribution of genes in the development of diseases. Transgenic models helps for investigation of new treatment for human diseases. Example, transgenic models for many human diseases such as cancer, cystic fibrosis, rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's, etc. Then here meaning for it is we can study about disease and the treatment for disease by using transgenic animals. We can inject the pathogen into these transgenic animals, then we can treat that animals to know about the treatment of that particular diseases also. Next, biological products. Transgenic animals are used to produce useful biological products by introducing genes which codes for particular protein. Example for that is human protein alpha antitrypsin used to treat emphysema, produces for treatment of phenylketonuria and cystic fibrosis. There is a human protein that is called alpha antitrypsin, which is used as a treatment for phenylketonuria and cystic fibrosis that we can produce by the transgenic animals. In 1997, Rosie, it is an first transgenic cow, produced human protein enriched milk. See, actually human protein we can produce in the human milk protein we can produce or we can get from the milk of cow also by transgenic animal. Here there is one cow that is called Rosie. It formed in 1997. It produced the human protein. Then it contains the human alpha lactalbumin and it's nutritionally more balanced product for human babies than the cow milk. Normal cow not contain the human protein, that is alpha lactalbumin, but transgenic cow contain alpha lactalbumin. If alpha lactalbumin is present in milk, then that milk is similar to human milk that are used for nourishment of newborn baby. That is about biological product. And transgenic animals also used for the vaccine safety test. If we are identifying new vaccine, first we can test for the animals, then after that only we can do test to human beings. That is called vaccine safety test. Here transgenic mice are used to test the safety of polio vaccine. If it is found to be reliable, they can replace the use of monkeys to test the safety of batches of the vaccine. First they will do vaccine to transgenic animals, then monkeys, finally we can do to the human beings. Chemical safety testing or toxicity testing. Transgenic animals are made that carry genes which make them more sensitive to toxic substances than non-toxic animals, non-transgenic animals. Then they are exposed to the toxic substances and the effects studied, it gives immediate result. That is about the uses of transgenic animals. Next, question number 35, which also contain two parts. Part 1 is mention the possible genotypes of blood group A and B. If you see the blood group A, which may contain the genotype in homozygous condition IAIA or in heterozygous condition, that is IAI. If you see the blood group B persons may contain IBIB, that is may be homozygous dominant, or IBIA, that may be heterozygous dominant. Then second question, explain briefly the sex determination of honeybees. I will explain the honeybee sex determination by the diagram. Honeybee female contain the 32 chromosomes. Then if you see the honeybee males, they contain only 16 chromosomes. Hence we can say that females are diploid in nature, males are haploid in nature. The females produce the eggs by meiosis, that each egg contains 16 chromosomes. Then if you see the males produce sperms not by meiosis, by mitosis. Mitosis is equational division, hence 16 chromosomes are present in sperms. Male contains 16 chromosome and sperm produced by male also contain 16 chromosome. But if you see female is diploid, which contain 32 chromosomes. Here meiosis occurs for formation of egg, hence that is reductional division. The newly formed egg contains 16 chromosomes. When the egg fuse with the sperm, which is called fertilization, which leads to combine of 16 chromosome of egg and 16 chromosome of sperm, then which leads to formation of 32 chromosome containing female. Sometimes what happen, egg not combine with the sperm, that eggs directly involved in parthenogenesis, then they will form the haploid male. Hence here you can say that males of honeybees will not form by the fertilization. Without fertilization they are formed, hence this is one type of parthenogenesis, formation of individual without fertilization. Next, question number 36, discuss the role of microbes as fertilizers. Biofertilizers. Biofertilizers means if organisms are used to increase the fertility of soil, then that is called biofertilizers. Different types of microorganisms we can use to increase the fertility of soil. Okay, see here, biofertilizers are organisms that enrich nutrient quality of the soil. Example, bacteria, fungi, cyanobacteria. If you see rhizobium, rhizobium is symbiotic bacteria in root nodules of legume plants, which will fix atmospheric nitrogen. Free living bacteria in the soil, example that is azospirillum and azotobacter, which enrich the nitrogen content in the soil. Actually, rhizobium is grown in root nodules of legume plant like groundnut, pea plant. Rhizobium will provide nitrogen compounds for the plant, and the plant provides shelter for the rhizobium. Next, there is few types of microorganisms. Those are free living bacteria, means they are freely lived, and they also can increase the nitrogen quantity of soil. Example for that is azospirillum and azotobacter. Next, mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza is a symbiotic association of fungus with the plants, roots of plants. The fungus gets food from the plant. The fungus will get benefit, that is it will get food from the plants. Instead of it, fungus symbiont absorb the phosphorus from soil and pass into the plant, means it is used for absorption of phosphorus. Then fungus give resistance to root borne pathogens and tolerance to salinity and drought, give an overall increase in plant growth and development. That is about mycorrhiza. Next, if you see the cyanobacteria or blue green algae, those are autotrophic microbes. They can fix atmospheric nitrogen. Example for it is Anabaena, Nostoc, Oscillatoria. Then in paddy fields, cyanobacteria serve as an important biofertilizer. It also adds organic matter to the soil and increases the fertility. This is about the biofertilizers, means the organisms which are used for increase of fertility of a soil. Next, question number 37. What is commensalism? What is commensalism? Mention any 4 interactions of organisms that represent commensalism. First, what is commensalism? The interaction in which one species benefit, the other species is not benefited, not harmed. Means one species is benefited plus another species should be zero, neutral. Then that is called commensalism. Example for it is, first one, an orchid growing on epiphyte of mango branch. Means this is the mango plant, and mango plant we can see the growth of small orchids. Orchid will get benefit, that it will get sufficient sunlight. There is no benefit, no loss to the mango plant, hence zero mango plant plus is orchid. Next, barnacles growing on the back of whale. If you see the whale, this is the whale which lives in sea water. On the back of whale we can see the growth of small arthropods. Those are called barnacles. Small animals, those are called barnacles. Because of whale, these barnacles, because of movement of whale, the barnacles which are attached on the back of whale also move one place to another place. There they will get sufficient food. Hence there is a benefit to the barnacles, but no loss, no gain to the whale. Next, close association between cattle egret and grazing cattle. Cattle egret is one type of bird. This is the cattle egret. It is one type of bird. Then those are the grazing cattle. Grazing cattle means cow, buffalo, etc. are grazing cattle. While cattle eating, the small insects are come outside from the grass that is eaten by this cattle egret. Hence cattle egret bird is benefited, no loss, no gain to the grass eating grazing cattle. This is also one type of example for commensalism. Thank you. For more updates on biology, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. Then if you want this PowerPoint presentation, give comment or send message to 970-440-5780. You should send subscribed screenshot. If you send the subscribed screenshot, I will send this PowerPoint presentation to you. Thank you.